Housing affordability, as we've discussed, is a key federal election issue, and new polling has reiterated that. Here's Georgie Dickerson.
New Redbridge polling suggests Labor is facing a backlash from voters over housing affordability issues. 85% of Australians believe it is impossible or unsure if a young person can purchase a property without help from their family. Electorates held by key Labor frontbenchers are among the highest levels of voter pessimism, including Home Affairs Minister Tony Burke in Watson and Education Minister Jason Clare in Blaxland. In Victoria, voters are most concerned in the seats of Ballarat, Bendigo, Calwell and Dunkley. 76% of Victorians think home ownership is unattainable for young people. A majority of people also believe living standards will be worse for the next generation. 45% say it will be worse and 25% believe it will be much worse. 58% of voters are not confident their retirement is financially secured.
It would be good if we can start getting some of these housing deals done. That would be helpful. I know not one housing bill is an answer to everything, but if they can just keep tapping away at that so we can get more houses built a lot quicker, that would be very good. I'm hearing that New South Wales is a bit slow off the mark.
Redbridge has also warned interest rate hikes have drained people's savings and future cuts are unlikely to provide significant relief for struggling families.
Let's get some analysis and go to Kos Samaras. He's a director at Redbridge who did the analysis on housing. Kos, I guess your numbers really flesh out what you have told me on many occasions and what most of our viewers would know as well. And it's not just cost of living. There's a massive amount of housing stress right now too, isn't there?
Housing stress. We also asked questions in that survey, an analysis on people's perception about their retirement. So Australians now into their 50s and early 60s as to whether they are comfortable in retiring, and only 27% said yes. So across every benchmark, when it comes to just Australians getting by, it's all looking very, very grim at the moment.
And the polling then doesn't surprise you much? The fact that the coalition has now edged in front of the Newspoll when you look at your numbers side by side with those published polls?
Yeah, look, Newspoll's numbers published overnight are pretty much in line with what we've been talking about now for some time. A gradual erosion of Labor's position. It is very slight, but what we're seeing is the trend is not their friend, that's for sure. The fluctuations in the two-party preferred probably down to data noise. So we are looking at relatively the same sort of dynamic as we did 2 or 3 weeks ago, but the trend is not different. And their problem that they're going to face as a political party come election time is they have to convince the Australian public that what they've experienced in the last 2 years is going to be drastically different to what they may experience in the second term of the Albanese government.
And as a long-time advisor and strategist campaigner yourself, it might be the white noise of the polling, but there is a chance, isn't there, that this has a significant and tangible impact on morale within the parties?
Yeah, definitely. Look, I mean, I've worked on the Labor side of politics when it comes to campaigning, and politicians in general either want to reject polling or either want to accept it, depending on what it actually has to offer. Sometimes they'll deny it, sometimes they'll shoot the messenger. But at the end of the day, when they go to sleep at night, they know those numbers are real.
They know the numbers are real, and I read one of your quotes in the Daily Telegraph today that I had to read a couple of times because I thought this is central to Labor's chance at the next election, is if they get a rate cut or two, your argument is that's not going to be enough.
Absolutely not. That's right. Millions of Australians have burnt through their savings. Those savings have taken years to accrue. So fundamentally, that is the problem when people on the Labor side are hoping to see the situation politically turn on the back of 1 or 2 interest rate cuts. Doesn't mean it won't help the government in this narrative in saying, look, we've turned the corner and our policy is working, et cetera, but it's going to be very hard. Particularly in those outer suburban and regional electorates, which our analysis has highlighted, has the greatest number of people with pessimistic outlooks towards life in general.
They're hoping as well, if you look to the Queensland election Saturday week, that the metaphoric baseball bats are wielded on Labor and the Labor brand in Queensland on Saturday week. And then therefore, when the federal election comes around 6 months down the track, voters might go a bit easier on federal Labor. They are at a very low point anyway in Queensland, so it's hard to imagine they can go much further down anyway in terms of losing seats in the Sunshine State, Kos.
Federal seat of Blair has, in all the three benchmark questions, one which was obviously focused on a perception as to whether people could buy a home, as in the next generation could buy a home without assistance from family, whether there's a perception that the next generation is going to live a better life than their parents, and whether they are comfortable in retiring. All three benchmarks, Blair is in the bottom 10% of all electorates. So
wow,
that's going to be a seat. Yeah, that's going to be a seat that no matter what happens on the 26th of October, we're going to see some pretty significant movement away from the government, the federal government, at the next federal election, irrespective of who's in power in Queensland.
And the coalition's already at a high watermark up there, so maybe one more. Wouldn't be a great start, that's for sure, for Labor in their effort to hold on to power. Kos, thank you. Appreciate your insights. Talk to you soon.
Cheers. Thank you.